Hey you skaters, this is my Verreal RS Pro electric skateboard review. I have both the street version with cloud wheels and I have a set of AT wheels. However, I'll only be doing the performance test for the cloud wheels because I ran into some issues with the AT wheels, which I'll go into detail later on. But my first impressions of the Verreal RS Pro with cloud wheels is very positive. I had a pretty bad experience with the first RS they released, so I was lacking a little bit of confidence before riding this e-board. I even put it off for a few days just out of fear. But once I pulled myself together and started riding, I quickly realized I had nothing to worry about. Verreal have ironed out all of the kinks from their original board and I had an amazing time riding around on the RS Pro. The Verreal RS Pro is a high-powered electric skateboard that requires a rider to have at least an intermediate level of riding experience. It floats between being a cruising commuter e-board and a fast-paced shredding machine. It carves extremely well and is capable of ripping some hard slides if that's your thing, but you're also able to tone it down and go for a light and floaty ride. And if the Verreal RS Pro doesn't fit your needs, keep in mind that they also offer the RS Pro AT for all-terrain riding, the Verreal TT RS, which is a more affordable version, and finally the RS Pro Max, which has an extra big 12S 4P battery. The Verreal RS Pro has 7-ply Canadian maple and 2-ply of bamboo, which makes the deck incredibly stiff. And the enclosure underneath runs across the entire deck. It doesn't have separated battery cells like you would see on the WowGo AT2, so you won't be getting any flex from this e-board. That's not all bad news. Deck flexibility is really a matter of personal preference. The good news, however, is that the deck is a drop through with a slight drop down. This paired with the double kingpin trucks does give the board a slight flex at the ends. It's quite a comforting feeling to feel that flex only on the outside of your feet while your feet stay level and balanced. To me, double kingpin trucks are a little sketchy at times, especially at high speeds, so I was cautious and tightened them right up. But when I went out for a ride, I still had a ton of carving and turning ability. This made me nervous to hit the gas because I expected there to be a lot of speed wobbles at high speeds. However, this just wasn't the case. The board stayed fairly stable. The 120mm cloud wheels are amazing. Everyone already knows that. That's why every other electric skateboard out there has options for them. They are just so squishy and grippy. I have a lot more confidence when riding with these over regular street wheels. They also absorb a lot of the vibrations from the road, so your feet and legs don't fatigue as quickly. However, I did still find that I started to feel tired after about 20 kilometers of riding on the RS Pro. Although I could put that down to the fact that I just haven't been riding as much during the winter months and the lockdowns. There are some other wheel options available on the Verreal site, including 90mm street wheels and the 97mm glow wheels, but the great thing about the RS Pro is that you can put on pretty much any wheel that you want. Just make sure you get yourself the compatible wheel pulleys and belts. The RS Pro has a 12S 3P battery pack with 21,700 cells, giving it a whopping 666 watt-hour capacity, dual 1500 watt 6368 belt drive motors running at 170 kilovolts, and a custom Hobbywing ESC. All of these electronics together add up to provide some pretty awesome performance specs, which are hard to beat in this price category. Lastly, the remote control is one of my favorites. It has all the basic information on the LED screen, including your current speed, trip distance, odometer, battery levels for both the board and the remote. It's got 4 speed modes, reverse, cruise control, and it also has one of my favorite features, which is automatic on-off. So you can just turn your remote on and the board will also turn on without you having to bend over and fiddle around underneath the deck to try and find that power button. The Verreal RS Pro is spec'd to have a top speed of 31 miles per hour, which is 50 kilometers an hour. I was able to push to 26.8 miles per hour, which is 43.1 kilometers an hour, before having to back off in fear of falling off. There was still lots of room in the throttle, so I have no doubts this e-board can hit the top speed of 31 miles per hour. Just look around, you'll see plenty of people getting these faster top speeds. And for reference, I never ride at this speed except for when I'm testing an electric skateboard. My comfortable cruising speed sits more around 18.5 miles per hour, which is 30 kilometers an hour. The acceleration on the RS Pro is insane. insane. Even in the first speed mode, you have to be prepared for takeoff. So when you start gearing up into modes like 3 and 4, you need to start controlling the throttle with your thumb because it is just too fast to handle in most situations for most riders. There isn't any unnecessary jolting or lagging of the throttle that you might get from other ESCs. The Hobby Wing ESC on the RS Pro is smooth and the acceleration curve is quite satisfying. When braking from high speeds, like at plus 21.7 miles per hour or 35 kilometers, it does take some time to come to a complete stop, but I wouldn't say that it's out of the ordinary. The braking distance on the RS Pro is on par with the majority of belt drive electric skateboards at the moment. However, when you brake at speeds of 18.5 miles per hour or less, you're at a standstill in no time. This is great for those that want an electric skateboard for cruising around in busy areas where you might need to hit the brakes quickly. The spec range for the Verreal RS Pro with 120mm cloud wheels is 31 miles or 50 kilometers. Now, to be completely honest with you, I was buggered after riding this board, so much so that I pulled the pin after about 22 miles, which is 35 kilometers of riding. That was right about when I started getting the 25% low battery warning from the remote. The last portion of the battery does tend to drain a little quicker than the top end, so I would estimate that I might have been able to hit around 28 miles or 45 kilometers, maybe a tad less in the end. Plus, during my ride, I did multiple top speed tests, acceleration tests, and hill climbing tests, all of which sucked the life out of the battery. And for reference, I weigh about 192 pounds, which is 90 kilograms, so you can gauge round about what kind of range you would get from this board. The Verreal RS Pro was very impressive climbing hills. I went up my trusty hill that has an average grade of 8% with a max steepness of 13%, and it completely smashed it. I was doing just under 19 miles per hour, which is 30 kilometers an hour at the steepest point with no signs of slowing down. I have a lot of confidence in this e-board to climb hill grades up to 30%. The reason I was unable to ride with the AT wheels is because I physically could not install them. For those that have never swapped their wheels over before, this might be tricky to follow, but I will do my best to explain. When you change wheel sizes from, say, cloud wheels to AT wheels, you generally have to change the pulley sizes and belt sizes. In order to get the right tension on the belts, you can move the motors up and down the motor mounts until the motor is in the right spot. Then you just go ahead and tighten up those motor mount screws. But what happened here is that in Verreal's factory, the motor mount screws had been fastened too much, which pressed down against the motor mounts, causing them to flare out. This prevented the screws from being able to freely move up and down the motor mounts, and I was unable to get the correct tension on the belts. Now, I've told Vic, the owner of Verreal, about this, and I've sent him some videos of the issue, and he's assured me that they will change their processes in the factory to ensure that this doesn't happen again in the future. So that's really my only issue I had with the RS Pro. Aside from that, it has been a dream to ride. Overall, I really enjoyed riding the Verreal RS Pro. As a commuter e-board, you'll get to where you need to go fast while being able to have a bit of fun along the way by carving when you get that chance on an open road. It is super powerful. I'm not the best of riders, but I would consider myself pretty capable, and this thing had more in it than I could handle. I think it's a great second e-board after you've outgrown your first and you're looking for the next level up without having to spend a fortune. I highly recommend the Verreal RS Pro. So that's my Verreal RS Pro electric skateboard review. I hope I've helped make your search for the best electric skateboard a little easier. If I have, slam the like button and hit subscribe to stay up to date with the latest and best electric skateboard reviews and news. If you have any questions about anything that I didn't cover in this review, please drop them down in the comments below. I will do my best to get you the answer. Thanks for watching, and as always, ride safe out there, eSkaters. I'll see you soon.